Morning, matey.
Morning, matey. How are you?
Good.
It's good.
How was last night?
Oh, nice, eh? Good sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bit chilly. Early hours of the morning, but
Yeah. Not as cold as last night, I think, though.
no.
Well, 2 nights ago it was the coldest, wasn't it?
Yep, that's it.
And a lot of birds around, isn't there?
Oh, it's bloody happy place, eh? You know, they're all chirping away. And no, it's an amazing place. You know, this is where that, like you said, well 46.
Yeah.
It got flooded and still a lot of water there. Yep.
You know, we've done, video just went up and we've done, I think 10 in a row now, daily video updates and chats with yourself, and it's about 30 minutes chat a day. That's like 5 hours of footage, you know, we've been chatting with you.
Gee, righto.
So, but you know, it's just on a phone. Anybody could do this, eh? Like, you know, bring their grandparents out or their dad out, or, you know, a relative, and sit by the fire and chat in the morning and film it. It's not hard to do, is it? You know?
No. Especially now, you know, the kids can show mum and dad how, or grandparents how to use one of those. You know,
Yeah.
it's amazing. But the kids are really up with the tech stuff. Yeah.
And you know, recording the stories. I mean, the Aborigines, I suppose, they had their way of recording stories, didn't they? With Dreamtime and paintings and that, because it's important to record stories, isn't it, of the elderly, isn't it? Because they've done it and lived it and have so much knowledge and wisdom, and it's good to record it, isn't it? Otherwise it's lost, you know.
But definitely, you know, yeah. Still a lot of them, you know, getting lost and or left alone, unattended. You know, slowly fading away in the distance, history of time as things go. It's like those old graves we saw, you know, these really the timbers starting to sort of rot and fall away, and so people have forgotten that place, you know. Yeah.
Like you said, nature reclaims everything eventually, doesn't it?
Everything, all the steel and the tins that they use in early days through there, just rotten away, you know. Eaten away by. So nature takes control. She's definitely in charge.
I think it's a nice way to feel about it, that, you know, you're part of nature, you know, that you are part of nature. And, you know, if you've, because what I've noticed out here too, everything in the bush is all based about, you know, reproduction, isn't it? You know, where it's the seeds on the spinifex and the birds and the camels and every animal and insect and plant, is sole focus is just to reproduce, isn't it?
It is.
All its function is to do is to continue the species, isn't it?
That's it, you know. And just a very short lifespan, you know. Humans too, you know. It's like these plants here that's dying off, but there's another ones will take place, you know. They don't last long. Might be say a year or two, then that'll fade away and a bushfire will come through, and I wouldn't say destroy it. I'd say to regenerate new plants and other things, you know.
Yeah. And had a lot of questions about that damper yesterday. It was a ripper, wasn't it? Come out looking perfect. The wet damper, you know.
And it's nice.
A lot of people asking about the recipe. Could we, is that a secret recipe, or can we share that?
Just, you can do it with any one of those. I think it's 1 kg plain self-raising flour, you know.
Yeah.
You can throw in a little bit of that sunshine milk, you know, the powder, which is 1 or 2 spoons of that, and big spoons, and that'll sort of make it more sort of puffy, you know.
Yeah.
A little bit more puffy. But
So a full kilo of self-raising flour.
yeah, just use that up. If you're going to do a wet mix, use that up, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, just get it all wet, get it moist, not runny, not hard, in between, you know. Yeah, and then just make sure you got your camp oven well sort of oiled. I just use a little bit of olive oil inside the pan and bottom of the pan and top of the pan, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't sort of stick.
Yeah.
And and just pour that straight in, and as it rises, it evens itself out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of moist and wet.
Yeah, that's it, you know.
Yeah, that's why you get that beautiful shape.
Yeah, and same with if you're gonna knead it, then just use 3/4 of the flour and then leave the other to so you can mix the dough up so it's just sort of nice and smooth, you know, when you knead it and that. And then put that straight in the camp oven. Just sprinkle a little bit of flour on the bottom.
Yeah.
Then around the sides, on the top, and then and like I said, give it about half hour to an hour, and just watch it. You know, you don't put too much heat. Yeah.
And I like the way you mix the dirt with the coals to get it to the right temperature.
That's right. You know, yeah. So
Never
that's
seen that
just
before.
like adjusting your temperature in the oven, in the stove. You know, yeah. We use dirt, so just mix that up. So that's when you feel about right, and it's not too hot, it's not too cold, and it's good. Yeah.
And you mentioned too that, you know, when you go off mustering in the morning and you'd have a good feed of damper and corned beef, it's really heavy food, isn't it? It sticks to your guts, and that was really important, wasn't it? Because you mightn't get another feed all day.
It does, you know, same with your corned beef, damper. Well, it lasts with you pretty well whole day, you know, if you have to go without eating something, where we're now sort of used to picking up so much junk food, and which is not filling, you know. Yeah. Just for that moment, you know, you might feel full, but 20 minutes later, oh gee, I should have had 2 of those, you know, and should have had 3.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. A lot of that shop food, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's true, you know, you had a big slab of damper, you know, you can, it's heavy food, isn't it, you know, and that's what you want, isn't it? And that corned beef and damper sort of what everyone lived on, wasn't it, in the out bush?
Oh, that's all everyone lived on, eh, you know? Yeah, because it's, it doesn't sort of digest and break down quickly, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's slow, so...
And easy to make, hey, like, you don't have to put yeast and let it rise overnight and everything, you just mix it up straight away, don't you?
No, that's it, you know, yeah. To make a bread, you need at least 2 hours at least, you know, because you got to knead it, and then you got to let it rise, and you knock it back, and you got to let it rise again for a half hour or an hour, you know. Yeah,
and we had some for dinner as well, like that night, or last night, so 24 hours later we were still eating it, eh?
Yeah,
you know, So a kilo self-raising flour, a couple of big teaspoons of milk powder.
Yep.
Mix that with water, so it's sort of not too runny but moist, and then throw it in the camp oven. That's it.
That's it. You know, people want to throw a little bit of salt in, so just sprinkle a bit of salt. They can. But it was the other day. I mean, you look at it yesterday. You know, Brendan was still getting into it. I think we only got a little piece left out of that size damper. You know,
fed all of us.
Yeah, and it's better than bread. You know, your shop bread. The bread you buy in bakery, I normally buy that unsliced, you know. It's nice. It's lasts longer. That's. But the rest, the bread, it just it doesn't last. It just goes off, you know. Yeah. It's nice.
And I was wondering about the camels. We saw we've seen a lot of camels on the track, but yesterday we saw two big bull camels on the track, you know, and once you get up behind them, they don't want to get out of the way, do they? They just keep trotting along and managed to get around them in the end. But we see tracks every morning, and the camels they're off and they're walking along during the night. Sometimes it feels like 10, 15 kilometres, but
they do. Yeah.
It feels like they're travelling, you know.
Yeah.
What are they doing, the camels? What are they doing?
Well, look, you know, they've got an area which I'm not too sure how big an area they cover.
Yeah.
But again, they sort of walking and patrolling and just looking for other maybe bull camels. Normally there's a lot of the younger bull camels walk out from the big herd. You know, the bull keeps those away from the herd. But you get other bull camels that'll wander around looking for females or herd that he can take control, you know. It's like the one we saw at Well, where that spring was, you know, that well.
45, I think.
Yeah, the one you said it was just starting to you could hear it make that gurgle sound.
Yeah.
And that's travelling upwind from over 1,000 metres away, you know.
Yeah,
that's pretty loud. So he just probably, I looked at him yesterday and he did look powerful, you know.
Yeah.
So he's probably just coming into his prime and coming on season, and they normally start blowing that bubble out.
Yeah.
And so he's coming in his prime. He's probably ready to sort of find a herd and trying to take over, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, whether he's ready or not, but he feels that he's ready. So he's showing his sort of dominance and aggression that way. And with the big bulls that have the herd, they're pretty powerful, eh? You know, like you know, he might have 2 or 3 goes before he actually kicks the other bull away. Yeah.
And then once they got the territory, they got to keep going around marking their territory, I suppose, don't they?
They do. And the bulls, they sort of pee all over, and then they swish it with their tail. You know, they spread it. That's sort of marking themselves. You know, and that's why one of those other guys said the camels close to them cross the road and stink. That's that strong camel smell, you know. Yeah, urine smell.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice to see, you know. Yeah.
So they're that's the important thing for the animals, isn't it? Especially dominant animals, they get their territory and they mark it, and then they patrol it and, you know, protect it and protect their herd. And
that's it.
So many animals do that, don't they?
Yeah, animals, and you know, humans got to do the same. You know, their brand, their gear, their vehicles, the house is numbered, and you know, and they've got their boundaries set. So no different, you know. Yeah.
And what about this? We've chatted a lot about this over the last year or two, but you know, yesterday someone sent me a Channel 7 news article where in Coffs Harbour there's a big, they were talking about the 15-minute cities in the local council, and a lot of people turned up to voice their disapproval about it. But, you know, we've been talking about it for a while, but you mentioned a lot of people and they think it's just a bit of a myth or it's not true. But it's happening, isn't it? It's coming in. It's real, and it's like the smart cities and the 15-minute cities are coming, and all the councils are in on it. What's your take on all that?
Well, it's sad because it's right in front of people's eyes, the last 2 years under the World Economic Forum. You see the org diagram, and that's global, but in there is Australia. You tap into that, click on that Australia link, that takes you on into another org. How the Australia is involved through your councils, through your shires. So it amazes me that it's right in front of people's eyes. It's only now, 2.5, 3 years later, they all of a sudden realise, like they didn't want to hear about it, and the fake media and the governments call it, you're bonkers, you're lying, that's just not true. That so they're going against their own rules and diagrams they put in with World Economic Forum, So people, and if it, people are waking up a bit later, well, that's fine, because you need to do something about it, like those people who are saying that, surveillance technology is coming in, and you're going to have 1, 2 or 3 access points, entry points where you enter and exit, and all those will be sort of stations with cameras that'll take your number plate, that'll read your digital ID off your phone, even though you got it in the pocket. It's all stored there. So, and they've been doing that without the people's consent, without people knowing, and those people in the Shire know what's happening, and some of them don't. Some of them are still sort of blind to it, but a lot of them are part of it and know what's coming, and
because a lot of people have been paid big money too, it's not hard to get people on board. You just offer them, roles with big dollars, and they just jump on board, and they'll be part of it, and But what's their what are they trying to do? 15-minute cities is basically, the concept is, it sounds, of course they make it sound good, don't they? You can get everything you need within 15 minutes, but it's a 15-minute walking zone, what you can walk or ride in 15 minutes.
Look, they definitely want to do with, it's about climate change, it's about climate control and controlling people in a way to take away the older vehicles and anything that burns fossil fuels, do away with all that, That's why governments are pushing for people to have those electric vehicles, and which a lot of them are blowing up, right through the batteries, and they're saying it's much easier for you to be within the 15-minute range, so you can walk. You don't need a vehicle.
Yeah, that's it. They want to take your vehicles off you.
They want to take the vehicles off you. But people out there need to question themselves: am I going to visit my families in the next state? Am I allowed to go over? What am I going to use if you've got no vehicles? And I don't know. There's a lot of questions, and people. It was good to hear. There were hundreds there at that local Shire meeting to really start questioning, and then really need to start standing up and questioning their councillors, their representatives, their state governments, and.
But this is all coming from Klaus Schwab and it's not just him, but the World Economic Forum. I mean, who the hell are they anyway? I mean, they're very close to dictating and changing all our lives, and there's some psychopath bloke over in Germany who's got, his ancestors, or no, his relatives work for the Nazis, like fair income. Who is this guy, and who are these people that are trying to do this, But they are, aren't they? They're doing it.
They are, and I can't understand why. Why would governments go to that extent? It's global. Our governments are part of all that, and they've got over 1,000 billions and billions dollar companies
Mm.
in there,
Mm.
and they're a corporate body.
Mm.
So they're running the world. They're running as part of Australia,
Mm.
a corporate body, not our Commonwealth government anymore. You know.
Mm.
Again, they say, you know, we've got to depopulate the earth.
Mm.
You know, we're damaging the climate,
Mm.
and I'd say let nature take its course.
Mm.
You know, we say we're damaging it, but we're really sort of damaging ourselves.
Mm.
You know, nature will reclaim everything, like we
What
said.
do you make of climate change? What's your thoughts on, because the whole premises of these 50-minute cities is because of climate change, and much of what's been happening is climate change, you know, but, you know, there's like all these, everything you see right here, the trees, the grass, the trees are pure carbon, you know, and basically it's come from fossil fuels, the carbon, you know, in our cars for the diesel and petrol, but that, you know, that was created by trees and forests that, you know, broke down and created that coal, so it had to be there in the first place, didn't it? It's like a big cycle, isn't it? You know?
It is, you know.
What's your thoughts on climate change?
Look, deforestation, you know, the government's worried about Amazon rainforests and all that, you know, getting cleared, and we're not going to have carbon, we're not going to be able to breathe and all that. And on one hand, they're saying that. On the other hand, they're saying destroy everyone and everything around us, you know. But look, climate change, it's difficult, you know, because you've got the government agenda, propaganda, and you've got the fake media pushing the government narrative all the time, where we should be listening to real scientists, having a constructive argument and debate, you know. And that should be in schools too, where children learn about science and climate and all that, you know. That's a viable education and a caring education. Well, how can we do better? What can we do better, you know? And
well, like during, you know, you mentioned the doctors getting gagged, the good scientists, you know, they get gagged too, don't they? You know, if you have a scientist that, you know, like Jared Rennick, he's been great. He's been standing up in Parliament saying, you know, that, you know, the percentage of carbon in the atmosphere is 0.04%, you know.
something
But
like
the school
that,
kids are taught that it's like strychnine, or it's like 2,4-D, like a poison.
Yeah.
The kids learn that it's a poison, but like these sticks here, you know, that we're putting on the fire, that's carbon, isn't it? You know.
It is.
And that's sucking the trees. The trees grow from the carbon they pull down out of the atmosphere, and the more carbon in the atmosphere, the trees just grow bigger and quicker.
Yeah.
It's not a poison, you know, but that's
not.
what they're trying to portray.
Yeah.
The carbon's a poison, you know, and almost like oxygen. They may as well say oxygen's a poison. It's just nonsense.
It is. You know, I think it's more about control, you know. And look, that's more so with Western English countries, you know. And I think it's about controlling people. It's you know, I mean, you look at it, they bring in that we're going to robots, artificial intelligence and all that, taking over workplaces for people. It's all coming in, you know. It just, there's nothing sustainable. I mean, for humans, what are we going to do? You know, are we going to work? I don't think. I think
Like it's greed, isn't it?
we go back to the 15-minute cities. You're going to be on a credit system, you know.
Yeah.
Remember, you're going to own nothing and be happy. So you've got to get your brain ticking. Okay, well, what do they mean by it? Go and have a look in the World Economic Forum and look at the diagrams.
It's on their website, isn't it?
It's on the website. Look at what's Australia's doing. What's Australia's the direction that Australia is heading in. and find out for yourself and let us all know, you know, let everyone else know. Yeah. Don't wait till you wake up and say, oh, I've got to go to the council meeting to have a go at Joe Blow here because this is wrong what they're doing here. They've been building on for the last 20, 30 years. In the last 2 or 3 years, if you still haven't woken up, you're only just starting to wake up now, maybe too late.
Because everything we've doing this trip, you know, which has really been quite special, and but you know, from what they're bringing out in England, you know, you've got so many passes you're allowed out of your zone each year.
Yep.
And then if you want to go out after that, like, give it 5 years. If we want to do this trip, we'd have to apply to each council for a permit to come through, ask their permission.
Yep.
Then they're going to like, well, you know, how much carbon are you using and why do you want to do this? Like, you'd literally have councillors would decide whether you can go outside your zone. You have to apply for a permit. And look, people don't believe that, but that's coming, isn't it?
Yeah, look, across each state, how many 15-minute cities would there be? You'd have to apply for each and every one of those, whether you might have 20 or 30 across Victoria. Do you have to apply to go through so they can follow you through your number plate and your digital phone? And
that's if you've got a vehicle.
If you've got a vehicle, you know. Yeah, and I'm sure if you're late for some reason, you're penalised. You know,
you got to get back, and
you've got to get back, and you're penalised if you go over your standard time. Yeah,
that's very sinister, isn't it? And you know, like what you mentioned the English too, but it's the white fellas, what they've done around the world. It's basically all goes back to greed, which you mentioned. But like the Aborigines, they've been here for so many years. You didn't have one group or one mob of Aborigines try to control the whole of Australia, did you? You didn't, because greed was not a concept in the Aboriginal life, was it?
No. It was sort of, living and sharing, and now and again the tribes might have some sort of a war, but that might be because they believe that other tribe might have put out its spirit, and it's affecting our water holes or some of our people, you know. So they'll confront those. Then, but then after that, then they come together. They sit down and discuss them, you know. Yeah, and where the Western way, you just keep aiming bombs from 1,000 kilometres away.
It seems like the Western, you know, someone's always trying to rule the world, isn't it? Since the dawn of time, you know.
Yep.
And right. It's no different now, is it? You know.
Yeah. But when you say someone, it's only people in power, eh? You know, a lot of your general public are like us, just normal, just want to get on with life, enjoy life, and so on. But somehow, the mentality in those governments, those organisations here, creates evilness somehow, you know. And automatically they want to sort of start wars or talk about wars or sanctions, and when all they need to do is just a face-to-face discussion with those other leaders, you know, to say, what are we doing wrong, you know, how are we hurting you guys or taking over your boundaries? And okay, you know, there's always, at the end of it all, it's diplomacy that sorts it and solves everything, you know. That's at the end, that's always happens.
Well, I suppose and in the Western world there's always been, you know, groups trying to take control, and there's always been groups of people trying to fight for freedom. I mean, that's also happened over the generations, isn't it? You know, the people are always trying to fight for their freedom, and in the guys at the top trying to keep him controlled and keep in power. So it's sort of this ongoing, constant struggle, isn't it, between freedom and power?
And
but we got to stand up, don't we? You know,
we've got to stand up. You know, all these groups, they've got to put aside their differences and get back to it later if you want to. You know, but they've got to also wake up and see that it's a strategy. The governments in the state, federal level, whether it's councillors, put in there to divide us, you know. Like having the drag queens in the schools and all that, you know. It's about unsettling a society
Yes.
and creating that anger, passion and blame game and diversion and focus, you know. So
Yeah.
it's taken away from the real agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we shouldn't be. We're not that silly, but we're falling for it, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somehow we need to wake up and main thing is just listen to each other, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk openly. You know, don't get angry because.
And get involved, you know. I think democracy sounds great, but democracy only works if everybody participates, you know. If people stand back and think that others are going to do it for them, it'll be gone, you know. You'll lose your freedom. And I think democracy only works when everybody, you know, you got to hold your, we talked about the other day, you got to hold your leaders to account. That's what true democracy is about.
That's true democracy is. At the moment, we don't have a democracy, you know. It used to be up there on a pedestal, the great democracy, a great society, you know, where the world leaders in democracy and civilization. Yet it's dismantling itself by through the World Economic Forum and our leaders in the governments in the states. You know,
there's all these politicians. You know, they're all part of the World Economic Forum, aren't they? You know, Trudeau and Merkel and the New Zealand leader just stepped down, but a lot of the state leaders, they're all students of of the World Economic Forum, aren't they?
Definitely, you know. But you know, you got to see, like the McGowan's bailing out. You know, you got there's things happening outside of the society that are targeting those global leaders anyway, you know. And all that Nuremberg 2 trials and stuff. So
you think that's happening, Nuremberg 2.0?
I think that's on the track.
Yeah.
They've gathered all the information. It's taken 3 years.
Yeah. Now
they've got that, but now they're gonna do it in a way so they don't get blocked by the World Economic Forum and the governments.
Yeah.
You know, the governments have this fear of they should be afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the world's going to be coming after them. You know.
Yeah.
Be accountable for your crimes against humanity. That's what you did.
Yeah.
You know, you lied. Tell you what, the smoke bloody loves me.
Come round here a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that's it. Ryan Formic's doing amazing work, isn't he, with that?
Yes.
Getting everything together, and people think it's not happening, but you know, we're all also signed up to the Nuremberg Code, and a lot of those rules were broken, and they are gathering a team of people to hold Nuremberg 2.0 and hold leaders to account that have broken those codes, haven't they?
They are, you know, and Australian population just got to look at their courts and justice systems, you know, to see how corrupt it is. It's a joke, you know. I mean, you look at that young child you mentioned yesterday that needs to have a heart transplant.
Lung transplant.
Lung transplant, but she can't because she hadn't had the injection, or she needs to have 3 or 4 injections.
Yeah, she got to have 4 to get she got 18% lung capacity.
Yep.
And she can have a lung transplant fairly easy, but she's got to have 4 injections, and they won't unless she has that. They won't give it to her, you know. And, she hasn't got long to live, and
that's right. You know, people need to sort of get up in arms and question what you know, what injections, what's in those injections.
What's in them, you know.
That's it. You know, why can't you operate on the child now?
Yeah.
Why do you have to have? So, you know, that's murder. You know. Yeah. Those people will be held accountable.
Yeah, and that's what Nuremberg's about, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, matey. Well, that's pretty good discussion, and yeah, 35 minutes, so we might leave it there and
Yep, one more day and that's it.
let people have a think about all that.
Yeah, we part our ways after tomorrow.
Yeah, one more. We think we've got one more night on the track, so.
Yep.
All right, buddy.
All right, mate. Too easy. I'll stoke this fire up and...
Smoky little fire this week.
Adios, yeah.
Beautiful morning, eh?
Can't complain, mate. Oh, we're alive and kicking. We're alive and kicking. Yes.
It's a beautiful morning.
Yep.
A little bit damp this morning.
Oh.
Yeah, right, we're going to pack up and hit the road. These bags are good. When I was in Simpson Desert a couple of years ago, I designed these bags. Just that gorgeous red sand and earth, you know. And I sent a message to the canvas girls. I said, make me a bag with the red and the brown. What I wanted was blue, red and brown, you know, because that's what I was seeing every day. The blue didn't work out, but we made that bag. It's our Outback series. There's a lot of bags in the Outback red, and it's a unique colour that we've been able to get hold of through the manufacturer in Newcastle. But yeah, that's our Outback series. Any bag we make, you know, weekender bag or any bag, we can do it in this Outback style, which is just brown on the bottom and then Outback red on top. And we put this little Drifta Outback label on it. But yeah, look at this beautiful red earth, and that's where, you know, I got the idea from. Yeah, looking at that every day, that beautiful red sand. That's why we made that bag for. Pretty cool. How'd you sleep, Plenty? Did you dream about 79 series V8 muffler last night or what?
I do love the sound of that truck.
Could we fit a 4-inch muffler under this?
I'll have to go twin 4 inches.
He's got one of those little 1.5-inch mufflers.
No, I've never climbed down and had a look. No, it's got a pretty good size muffler actually.
Yeah. We've got to get a better sound that way.
Yeah.
Can we talk to Land Rover about that, you reckon?
I think we could be like Tesla and have an internal sound. No, the sound's actually not too bad.
Yeah?
Yep. I mean on the stereo.
Oh, yeah.
The stereo sound.
Well, mate, well, 51 today. Have you got the courage up to drive through the well?
Yeah.
You going to do it?
Straight through.
You going to do it?
Yep.
Dead set?
Yeah, and then you're gonna winch me out when I get stuck.
I'm with Uncle Richard. I'm not going anywhere near it.
Go the lane, dude.
Alright, gotta have a look at this map.
Yep.
Have a look at it for a little while. Alright, so that's WA. The last time we looked at the map, we were down at the start of the canning. And what's now, day 10 or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
10 days total.
Pretty well.
So we've been all the way up here. Coonawarra, we got to Coonawarra.
Yep.
And then
Well,
Tobin Lake, we've been past there. And we're, I think, here. We went around that split track. So we're right here at the moment.
okay, yep.
So we've still got to Billy Luna. There's about 170 k's into here, which is about well 51, and they're not far. So we look like we're going to camp around here tonight. And Billy Luna in the morning. And that's when the boys are going to turn right and head down the Tanami.
Yep.
We'll turn left, head up here to Halls Creek.
That's it, yep. But I'll pop
And
in the
then-
Wolf Crater.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to come to that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Wolf Creek Crater.
Fast,
Yep.
we'll go up to there.
Yep.
And then we're going to hightail it across to Broome, and we'll
Room.
pull up in the bush here somewhere, Richard, eh?
Yeah, we'll see.
And-
We'll see how we go. You know.
Yeah. Camp along here somewhere.
Once we get signal, then I'll give Karen a call. You know.
Be nice to camp on the Fitzroy, eh? Not too close to the river, though.
We'll air. You know, because it'd be around there. We can start sort of looking. You know. Yeah.
Be Crocs along there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Crocs there, but because we're camping up on the roof, so we should be
Yeah,
right.
yeah, should be. We've only seen camels, now she wants to see crocs.
They climb ladders, don't they?
Yeah.
I think they'll break my ladder.
Malcolm Douglas got a great croc farm there.
Yeah,
Yeah, well set out.
yeah. Anyway, so that's the end of the trip. This is the start of the trip. Luna to Billy Luna, 1900 k's, and we are about here. So we haven't finished it yet, but we've got literally one more day on the track if all goes well, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
All right, let's get going, eh?
Let's have a look at this lake.
Yeah, no, it's gone flat overnight, just soft ground, and haven't noticed until we backed out. But we'll pump it up and see what the problem is. Right, we can't find the leak, so I've just put 30 in it, and it's obviously going to go down a bit again, but we'll wait till we get on a dry track and clear it up a bit, and then we'll have another look. If we can't find it, pour some water with soapy water on it. But anyway, we'll continue for the moment. It's a little trick with these hoses, right? You don't want to drop that one in the dirt, but that one's sort of okay. But what you want to do, you want to twist it one way then the other. So that way, loop it back inside, loop around, loop it back, and see how you just loop it back in on itself. And that way, when you roll it out, you don't have any twists in it. Otherwise, it just gets all twisty and knotty. Right. Yes, this is a little track around well 46. As you can see, it's rock hard, bone dry, and well used as well. So, yeah, poor old Adam and John, they had a little bit of a brain snap. Happens sometimes, and yeah, when you don't want to go on about it, but there's a lot of good examples of caution, about driving through water that you haven't walked and things like that. If you're not sure about stuff, like Richard said, just pull up and have a brew and have a think about it. Main thing is walk it back and forth. And yeah, the boys are very lucky that a very capable guy came along, and it took him 6 hours to pull him out. Right, so we've got a bit of a crossroads here. This one goes that way, one goes that way. I don't know which one to take. Probably they'll join up. Let's see. So what's that make it, Darnie? Tuesday? Tuesday morning and...
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday, is it?
31st.
Hi. All good, fellas? Yeah, there's a truck off to the right back there. I don't know where that's going, but this one sort of seems to be following the GPS. Yeah, there was a truck going that way, which is probably basically east, and that's why these GPS are so good. If you just had a map, it's very hard to know which one to take, you know. You just can't get that detail, and you'd have to just get out with the compass 3 or 4 times. But I can see there that this is on the truck. Yes, I've got some sort of slow leak in the front right. We've also got a slow leak in the back left. The rear left has been dropping about 5 psi a day. And what happened, there was a stake back on the old gun barrel, you know, 2 weeks or 10 days ago. And it was like a mini double puncher. And we plugged one and yeah, not the other one. So I think that's what it is. But yeah, we just couldn't see where the air's coming out of that one, and these plugs are so good, you know, you don't need to take your tyre off, just find the hole and plug it, you know. So we'll give it a little bit, half an hour, and see if we can find it. Alright, well, beautiful morning, and yeah, this could be our last night on the truck tonight. And look at that. It's basically what we set out for every morning, you know, it's looking like that, just 7:30. Beautiful fresh morning and heading into the sun. And did we see anybody yesterday, did we?
No.
Didn't see anybody at all
No,
yesterday.
Yes.
No one come towards us. And I'd say we've seen about, yeah, in total 10 vehicles coming towards us so far, and there's probably about the same heading in the same direction as us. So say 20 vehicles on the track that we know of, on this 1900 kilometre length of track. You know, there'd be a few more staff behind us too, you can say 25, but there's not a lot of vehicles, and half going this way, so there's say a dozen you're going to see coming towards you. So that's, yeah, about an average of one a day. I'm not sure, you'd have to say this is about the peak season, but you know, these stories of this flooded well 46 put some people off. We were even thinking, we'd heard stories of flooded well 46, people saying you can't get through, and I was ringing Richard and what should we do? Should we head off or not? And just thinking about what we should do, trying to get some information. And Richard's like, no, we'll be right. We just drive around it, and you know, as you can see, it's all just desert. You can pretty much drive around it. And there was, yeah, as you can see too, no worries, just drove straight around. So, you know. And otherwise, the track has been totally dry, hasn't there? We haven't got a speck of mud on the vehicle, really. So there's been a totally dry track. And whereas there's reports of couldn't get around this lake and couldn't get around that well, and flooded here and flooded there, and it was not a big deal at all. The whole track's been dry. Yeah, but we sort of, I mentioned in the first video, I think, a little bit anxious about what we're doing, because we said what we're going to do. You know, we said we're going to do a video every day and upload it, and before we'd even started, we put that out there, and which means, you know, we can't sort of sneak away and not do it. You know, something goes wrong, but you know, we're close enough to the end now to say, well, pretty happy that we've achieved that, and yeah, it's only a day left on the track. So I think there's 14 videos in total and 10 on the canning. You know, I don't know how it ends up being so long. You know, it doesn't seem like it's filming, but it all adds up, I suppose. And Jake messaged me last night. He was panicking because they weren't sharing last night, and so I sort of shared them again, and then that made it even worse, you know, because they were both coming through. Anyway, so it's a lot of anxious text messages last night trying to get this out, whether I should send them a third time or whether just wait. And we decided about 1 o'clock in the morning, we said no, just wait. Anyway, they came through and Jake got them up, and then he said, oh, it's 2 hours. I'm like, well, cut it back to an hour and a half, mate. And he says, I can't cut it back. He didn't know what to take out. So sorry if it's too long, but you know, you don't have to watch all of it. Just split it up. Watch, you know, we didn't want to split them up. You know, the ideal length is about 45 minutes, but it's just how it's ended up, and we didn't want to split them up because that sort of, you know, we wanted one every day, you know, and if you start splitting them up and 2 parts here and 1 part there, it all gets confusing. So
yeah, sorry if they're a bit long, but you know, again, don't have to watch it all, or watch a bit one night and another bit the other night. Yeah, it's been a bit of work because it is just a lot of text messages with Jake at night, trying to make sure everything's working and things like that. And but yeah, so it seems to be there's another guy on the track in front of us with a flat mount Starlink, same as me. But he's been uploading a few photos to the canning page, but yeah, I don't think anybody's done before. I think we can call it a world first, that we've driven the canning, the longest, most isolated four-wheel drive track in the world, and doing a daily live update. Well, not quite live, but live every day. And we've been able to do that because of Starlink and also because of Jake and our team we've got with us. So that's pretty cool, you know. We've been able to do it, and then I mean that's all we set out to do, was just a bit of a look at the track was all we, you know, said we'd do to start with. But it's sort of, as you've seen, morphed into these beautiful chats with Richard in the morning, and you know, a lot of people comment that he's a national treasure, and he is, you know. I think he definitely is, you know, a national treasure, and there's such a thing as a national treasure. I remember, well, you know, Slim Dusty was a national treasure, and different people have been. I think Richard's certainly a national treasure, you know. There's his connections to the past and the life he's lived and the wisdom he has, and certainly he can be, you know, a bit of a grandfather for all of us, you know. Which is, yeah, it's been really nice to see that, you know, and all I've tried to do is just bring that out of him, you know, and it's been a bit nervous sometimes because my fear is that I won't know what, you know, the conversation will stop and I won't know what to ask yet again, because there's been 5 hours of footage of Richard. So, you know, last time, like, oh, what else can we talk about? I've written a little list down, you know, get up, I'm in the middle of the night, I'll write some notes down and look at it before I start filming, and just, you know, trying to think of some things that I can steer the conversation if it comes to, you know, if we've covered something. But it, yeah, mostly just sort of flowed, you know, and the conversation just goes, you know, which is the way a good conversation should go, you know. And really what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to listen to Richard. I'm not trying to talk, as you can see. I'm not trying to contribute very much. I'm just trying to steer the conversation and let Richard talk. And, you know, when he's finished the subject, just bring up another subject. So that's all I've been trying to do. Yeah, we've been very privileged to listen to Richard and his wonderful stories, and he's just, again, got that something about him, a beautiful voice and that stature of, you know, just the way he sits and holds himself, and we can all learn a lot from Richard. And, you know, as well, someone mentioned, you know, that we've all learned a little bit about Aboriginal life in school, but not really a lot, and I didn't really understand it, but there's so many lessons. You know, we're all in a world of trouble at the moment, you know, and bureaucrats and politicians gone mad, and we can really learn a lot from not just the Aboriginal way, but Indigenous way. You know, Indigenous way of life around the world is quite similar, but it's all just based on survival. Everything is tuned to survival, which is exactly the same as the animals, which we've been talking about, you know. You can see it's so real and so raw here, you know. All the animals are just simply tuned to try to survive and to continue the species, and the spinifex, you know, it's all in seed at the moment, and the wattle's in seed, and it's all just tuned to continue life, you know. They're thriving to continue life, you know. And like Rich said this morning, they're all happy, you know. The birds are happy, and I think unfortunately the humans seem to be the only ones we get depressed, and we, you know, get ourselves in all sorts of trouble. But we can learn a lot from Richard's perspective on life, just being thankful to be alive, and also the Aboriginals, you know, perspective, which is all tuned exactly like the animals, just to survive, you know. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all about, you know. When it boils down to it, we're just here to survive and to continue our species in the best way we can, you know. And everything else is just a distraction to that. So it's yeah, I think it's a great perspective to learn about the Aboriginal way of life and how they lived and their views on things. You know, they had strong views on men and women, you know, for example, and crikey, you know, that's just gone haywire. I think I saw a quote somewhere online where, you know, somebody asked a friend in, I'm not sure if it was Sri Lanka or Pakistan, about all this sort of gender stuff, and, you know, he said, we haven't got time for that, you know, we're just trying to survive. And, you know, in this population we have now in our society, we're sort of so bored, you know, we're so affluent and so bored that we're just literally we're creating problems out of absolutely nothing. We're literally creating problems. And, you know, you see people are offended by everything, and that's because they're just bored, you know. Their life is too easy. It's so easy that they've got nothing to complain about, because generally, you know, populations in Sri Lanka, they're just trying to survive. And other, you know, third world countries, they're just trying to put food on the table and survive, you know. They don't have time for all this shit like we do. We're just creating problems, you know. And like Richard says too, a lot of it's about, you know, these malevolent figures leading the world. They're pushing us in different directions, trying to fight each other, you know. Like Tom McDonald talks about in his songs, you know, black versus white and straight versus gay. They're trying to make us all niggle and fight with each other, and that takes our eyes off what they're really trying to do, which is control us, you know, which has always been the case, you know. Anyway, just a few interesting perspectives and something to think about, and leave it at that for the moment. Alright, so we've got some guys on the track. How you going, Paul?
No, pretty good there, Luke. No, it's been a good trip so far on the journey.
Good to stop and have a little chat.
Yep, no, it is good.
I noticed you got a drifter bag on your roof. That's good, eh?
Yeah, drifter bag for the Oz tent.
Yeah, good
Top
on you.
stuff.
And you guys are from Sydney, eh?
Sydney, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, the track, yeah, gets pretty overgrown out here, mate, so you'll have a lot of fun. Lucky you got your contact on you. That's okay.
We'll see how good it goes when we get home.
Have a good trip, bro.
All right,
See you, mate. Yeah. Guys from Sydney. Catch you later, mate. Have a good trip.
You too.
Skolman.
Have a good
Bye,
day.
see you, mate.
All right.
Ah, he slept. This is a South Australian camper.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, Skolman's a bit of a character.
He was very funny. He's had a few tales to tell.
Yeah, well, I suppose better trying to keep telling the story. Yeah, so well, that's right, I was heading into San Francisco at night with a snorkeling goggles taped to my helmet. Anyway, we got in there and we met this family, and there was this guy, I can't remember his name, but he was, you know, what I'd consider a typical American. You know, he was a huge guy, and he was big and tall and really boisterous and loud. He just loved, he loved the fact that I was an Aussie, and he'd never met an Aussie, and he used to call me Outback Jack. I don't know why, but he'd like slap me on the back and call me, "How you going, Outback Jack?" and nearly, you know, knocked the wind out of me. You know, he was just a massive guy, and he was a big baseball fan. I think he used to be a baseball player. He gave me a baseball actually, and I think he was a baseball player. And yeah, we'll pull up at 9:30, boys, eh? And they had this you know, we had dinner. I'm not sure it was that night or the next night, but we used to have this enormous spread of food. I've never seen so much food in my life. And it wasn't Christmas, it was just a normal nightly dinner, you know. There was just food spread all over the place, you know, all over this huge table, and yeah, they love their food, Americans. And anyway, stayed there for a day or two, and then I went off after that. And what I wanted to do was go to a country bar, and I was, you know, I love my country music, and really just wanted to go to a country bar in America. You know. So anyway, I headed into the city, into San Francisco, and I stayed at the Backpackers, and you know, I walked around the city looking for a country bar, and anyway, I found one. There's this country bar there, and went inside and ordered a beer, and the waiter had a white singlet on, you know, and then, you know, thought it was a bit strange, and then there was this big cowboy sitting next to me. We're having a little chat, and he was a huge guy, and he had these blue overalls and no shirt, you know, just overalls and nothing else, you know, and I thought that was a bit weird, you know. And anyway, and these boys were just loving having me there, just chatting, and you know, the barman was talking to me, and this big cowboy, and anyway, after a while, after a beer, another cowboy walked in, all well dressed, and he come up to this big cowboy sitting next to me, and he put his arms around him and gave him a big kiss, you know, right next to me, and it's just like, oh, I've never seen anything like that before. I'm like, holy crap. Anyway, and then I realised I was in a gay bar, you know, and of course, San Francisco, you know, I didn't know. Anyway, so I sort of, you know, it's all good, they're nice fellas, you know, but I'm just like, I put my beer down slowly, and I like got up and thought, I'm out of here, you know. Anyway, as soon as I did that, because they all knew I didn't know there was a gay bar, and they just thought I was having fun in the bar, and as soon as I got up to walk out, they all started yelling and hollering and whistling and come back, mate, you know, stuff like that. Anyway, it's funny. Nah, it's all good. See you fellas. Anyway, so I couldn't find a fair dinkum country bar, and then went off then, and from San Francisco I sort of headed north again up the coast on my motorbike, and I was on my own, and had a bit of a rough time. So I got into the mountains, and there's some bit of a mountain range there, and I was going along, and it just got really cold, you know, and it was raining, so I basically got wet. All I had was a dry as a bone, and I had my jeans on, and it got very cold, and then I got wet, so I was wet and cold, and then I got lost. You know, I missed the bloody turn. I only had a map, you know, but I missed the turn in the fog. It was foggy. I was up in the mountains, and anyway, I went down this track, and it ended up being like a windy mountain track, and I thought, geez, I don't know if I'm on the right track here. Anyway, then I was so cold. I got to this, I saw a house, and so I drove my bike in there, and I was going to ask for directions. I'm freezing by this time, and wet, cold, and freezing, and miserable, and I knocked on the door, and there's this big glass sliding door, and a curtain across it, and this old lady in blonde hair, and she opened the curtain and saw me, and then she just closed the curtain again. I'm like, I just wanted to have a cup of tea, you know, or a warm cup of tea or something, and find out where I am, you know. Anyway, I turned around, and then there's my motorbike. It just when I turned around, the motorbike fell over in the mud, and the kickstand had, you know, stuck into the mud and fell over, and all my stuff's loaded onto it, you know. So I had to untie all my stuff and lift it up, and then getting them old XL, there was a kickstart, you know, trying to get them started. You had decompression, and you had to sort of really give it a few kicks, get top dead center, and give it a good old kick. And you know, it's like trying to kick those things when your feet are cold. And I thought there's no way I'm going to start this thing. It was hard to start for the best of times, you know, especially when I'm freezing. And anyway, I stood right up high, and I smashed that kickstarter, and yeah, she started. I thought, no way, but it kicked over, and then got my swag tied back on and put my backpack back on and turned around and headed back out. So obviously I was on the wrong road, so I headed back out again. And I didn't have gloves, so my hands were just freezing. So what I used to do is I'd pull up I looked at the clock, and because I was getting hypothermia basically, and it's funny because I'd only had heat stroke a few days before. That's what America's like, you know. You go from the desert heat to the mountains in a day, you know, and so every 5 kilometres or 5 miles I'd stop and park the bike just in the middle of the road, and I would just do some push-ups, you know. And I used to do push-ups from the army, and couldn't get my backpack off because it was sort of stuck on there with the Drifta, and I'd just do 20 push-ups in the middle of the road, and then I'd do 20 star jumps, just trying to get me blood flowing and my hands working, and I couldn't pull the gear, I couldn't pull the clutch in. And anyway, come back, and then I saw the turn to the road that I was after, so I turned left and headed back down. And then I got to this, I come down to this like a service station or a little corner shop sort of thing, just in the middle of nowhere, and I went inside there and couldn't take my backpack off, and I walked in and the guy at the counter there was no one around, and he said, "Oh, geez, you look like you could do with a coffee, son." And I'd never drunken coffee in my life, like not a single cup. I didn't like coffee, and I remember him saying that. He said, "You look like you could use a coffee, son." So he poured me that classic thick black hot American coffee, you know. And I stood there, and it was in a little paper cup, and I stood there, my hand shook, and it shook the coffee all over the ground. That's how cold it was. Anyway, I don't know what happened after that, but I turned around and he must have pointed me in the right direction, so I headed off, and then come down a bit further, and I found this hotel, and later I was travelling there, and I found it again 10 years later. Anyway, there's this little north of San Francisco, near the coast, and there's this like a hotel or a pub right on the road with a beautiful white balustrade, 2-story, and right on the road, you know. And so I sort of drove up there, and I leant my motorbike against the balustrade of the veranda of this pub, and I couldn't get off. I was frozen, you know. I couldn't move, and I just leant against it, my helmet against the balustrade, and that was it, you know. I knew I was somewhere safe, you know. Anyway, unbeknownst to me, there was 2 motorbikers sitting up top on the balustrade up top on the veranda, and they watched me pull up, and then they leaned over and watched me, you know, lean against just stay there. I didn't move, and they were like, "Shit, there's something wrong with this guy." And they had 2 Harley Davidsons, and anyway, they came down. I don't really remember much, but they came down and they got me off the bike, and they got all my gear, and they brought me upstairs, and they could see I was frozen, and they got my pack off, and they put me in. They got my coat off, but I was fully clothed in my jeans and my shirt, and they put me in the shower and turned the hot water on, and then I sort of started coming to, and I looked up, and there's these 2 boys looking at me like, and I said, "Oh, thanks, fellas." Anyway, so they warmed me up, and I got changed in dry clothes, and they said, you know, you can stay. They had a room there, the 2 of them, and what's going on here? So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then so I got warmed up, and then went downstairs to the pub and had a beer with them, and it was it's like a little lookout. Yeah, and they had these big pigs' heads, you know, on the wall. There must have been pigs around there, and oh, look at that, eh? Looks like a range job. Make it up there, don't you? Wow, look at that, eh? It's cool like that. Look at it, don't you? Yeah, we would not have made that with 76, unless I put the lockers in.
Look at that.
Wow. Yeah, boys, bit of a hill up here, little lookout. So you'll probably see us in front of you. Let's have a look. Wow. L79 crawled up that. Yeah, if that was 76, I would have had to put lockers in. But this suspension. Look at that. That's the track we come down. Doesn't look much, but that is bloody steep.
Here we go.
Wrong mode, boys. Try snow. There's a big house there, bro. Why don't you come around over there like everyone else?
We'll try. We'll try over here.
Shit, now I'm gonna have to try and do it. Jake, you'll have to cut the wind noise out, right? What are you doing, mate?
A good bro.
Jeez,
bro.
it's hard to even walk. I just want to show the angle. That's, what's that? That's gonna be, I don't know.
Lockers.
Haven't you got lockers?
Yeah, full box and guys design. Make it.
No, but the front's traction control's on, you know? It's only one spin on the front. You got twin lockers? Whatever you got,
Throw it all at it.
it's not working. Nice, boys. Grab a coffee, mate.
Very nice.
I'll send this to Sabine.
Thanks, Bernie.
Cheers,
this
mate.
is good. Cheers, buddy.
Nice little cappuccino.
Yep.
Yep. Well, we put a bucket of water over it, moved it twice, couldn't find it, and then there was just one little patch we missed. And there it is. Right, so I found the leak, just had a bucket of soapy water. And it was right on the bottom, so we had to move it this time. Oh, jeez.
You're going to try and push it or pull it?
Oh, I'm trying to push it.
So,
Ethan
I
does
tried to
mine.
pull it, but it broke off. See that? No jangling. Whereas if you roll it, twisting it, it's what you want me to do. Looks the same, eh? When you go to lay it out, see that?
It's a bloody mess.
Yeah. And then you've got to untwist it all. Look at that. Yeah, so that's the way. That, back, over,
Oh, back and under.
back and under, yeah. Twist it back and under. This is good if you don't want to get skin effects in your bum.
Bloody hell.
Once you get them in your jeans, you can't get them out, eh?
Yeah.
Gotta watch where you squat too, don't you, Glennie?
Very much so.
Pretty overgrown stretch here. Yeah, I've put a bag, canvas bag over the end of the awning and a little strap down at the roof rack. So I think that's a good idea because yeah, your awning can really, well, all these branches are going to get stuck in there. But, ooh. I heard some people on 40, but someone chatting, not sure if they're coming towards us or away from us. Sounds like a guided tour group, but put out a couple of calls but heard nothing back, so maybe a bit far away yet. Yeah, so what's happened, I've just driven over a stake. When we drove into the bush last night off the track to make camp, I've just driven over a bush or something and put a good stake in the tyre. So yeah, you know, while on the track we haven't had a single puncture, but I've just got one from, yeah, literally just driving off the track to make camp. So you got to be really careful, you know, getting off the track. Even when a car comes towards you, you know, someone's got to get off the track, and it's always tricky trying to work out who's going to get off, you know, but I always try to make the first move to get off, pretty much, you know. Some people sort of sit there and they won't move, you know, and make it very apparent, but you know, you sort of got to try to get towards them a bit and, you know, see who makes the first move. But I always, you know, put a blinker on or veer off, and then if you can see, you know, what they're going to do, because they might have a good spot to pull off and I mightn't, you know, so it's sort of a bit of it's like a four-way stop sign in America, you know. You just got to negotiate a little bit. You get there and you're like, well, because the 4-way stops, you know, we got the roundabouts, but over there you got 4-way stops, and, you know, you sort of got to try to get towards them a bit and, you know, see who makes the first move. But whoever sort of gets there first goes first, and then you're in line. You know, if there's say 5 cars turn up similar times, well, he got there first, and he got there second, and he got there third. So you've got to sort of just juggle with each other. It's quite tricky, and you've got to be pretty assertive, because if it's your turn sort of to go and you don't go, the other people will be like, well, stuff you, I'll go. So then, yeah, you got to be just assertive and just go, you know, when you're ready. When it's your turn, they're tricky, you know, but it's like that when you meet someone on the track, you know. But the easiest way is to, you know, if you can, put your blinker on and just, you know, sort of move off a little bit and see what they're going to do, you know. And if they don't budge, then drive off, you know. Or they might have a better spot and they're like, no, I'll move off. But I've had a couple of times, the last few times, yeah, well, 3 times we've met people on the track and I've moved off each time, you know. And then I just call my guys up. A lot of time it depends too, you can have a chat to them, you know, how many you got in your group. And generally the bigger the group should be able to stay on the track. You know, if you've got someone with 10 cars and we've got 2 cars, well, we'd always move off, you know. So the smaller group should move off the track, you know. Yeah, but sometimes you just get some stubborn people who, you know, won't budge, you know. So it's like having a fight with your brother, you know. Someone's got to give in, otherwise it's Donnybrook, you know. Anyway, a little track here, and a bit slow going. Yes, we got on, had a good night with the 2 bikies, Rick and I can't just think the other guy's name, but anyway, we had a coffee in the morning. Well, I wouldn't have had a coffee, but we had breakfast with them, and I would have had a cup of tea, and we had a look at their bikes. So I got a really good photo of me standing there. I've got my dry as a bone, blue jeans, boots, Bluntstone boots, and these guys had full leathers, you know, top to bottom, and motorbike boots, and you know, I didn't have gloves or even goggles, you know, so they thought I was pretty mad, you know, this mad Aussie. Anyway, so not long after that, yeah, we kept going. They were just on a bike ride, 2 mates, and I kept going. I found this town further north, and yeah, it had I went past the motorbike shop, so I pulled in there and I bought some gloves and a set of goggles, you know, proper motorbike goggles. So that was a godsend for me, you know. I don't know. Well, I just hadn't seen a motorbike shop before that, and anyway, I just didn't think it was going to be so cold, you know. Like I rode all through Australia on a little 250, and but I had a, you know, covering on my helmet, you know, like a face shield. But yeah, didn't need gloves, you know, in Australia. But it was freezing cold, and then the problem was the further north I got, the colder it got. I remember after that I was in Crater Lake. And there was, you know, these banks of snow on the side of the road, like 12, 14 foot high, you know, just where they've cut the roads into the snow. And I wanted to go into Crater Lake, but it was, yeah, these walls of snow along the road, and it was melting, but then overnight it would freeze, and I don't know how I stayed on the bike, because it was really slippery, you know, imagine that. Anyway, so I went real slow, and I'm freezing cold, and then remember my dad, he used to ride bikes a lot as a young fella, and he would say how they'd put newspaper down their pants and everything. So I did that. I bought some of the newspapers, and yeah, stuck it down the front of my jeans, you know, over my shins, and down my shirt. And I got my singlet, always had a blue singlet, and just sort of cut an opening in it and put that over my face like a balaclava, and that helped a lot, you know. Anyway, then I got up into Oregon, and still really keen to go to a country bar, and I got to this place called Bend, I think it was. Bend, Oregon. It's a pretty big town and sort of big road coming in, and I saw this big sign for country bars. I thought, I'll give it a go. So I went and found a Backpackers, and you know, then I went out that night to this country bar, and as soon as I walked in, I saw this guy. You know, he looked like a real good fair of American cowboy. You know, he looked like Sam Elliott. You know, remember Sam Elliott from the Western movies, Quick and the Dead, and he's got a big moustache, and you know, that curly hair, little bit curly hair, and he had a big hat on and a feather out of it, and a nice work shirt, and looked like the Marlboro Man out of the movies, Anyway, so I went straight up to him and sat down and said, he was on his own, and said, "Oh, how you going, mate?" And I said, "I'm from Australia," and a very quiet fella, very quietly spoken. His name was Wayne, and he was, apparently he'd met a Sheila there, a few weeks before or a month before, and he didn't get a number, so he was coming back every Friday night to see if she'd turn up again. But we waited for a little while and we listened to music. It was pretty cool, just chatted, and Wayne was the bloke I just really was drawn to and wanted to hang around. And anyway, he said after a while, because all these basically all city cowboys, they're all boot scooting, and I wasn't going to do that. And anyway, but it was cool, just to see it. That's what I wanted to do. And anyway, after a while, Wayne said, "Oh, let's get the hell out of here, and let's go back to my place, or to his town, which was Sisters." And I'm pretty sure it was Bend, but Sisters was very close. So I might have that town wrong, but I think it was Bend. Anyway, actually Bend is where the Earth Cruisers ended up. It was me and Kaido were there years later, and Kaido started the Earth Cruisers Instagram account. So I knew the guy, and we called him, saw him, and anyway, that was Bend, Oregon. So I'm pretty sure the same spot. So Sisters, a little town called Sisters, was close by. So we got in had this old red pickup. We jumped in and we drove to Sisters, and he said, "I've got this favourite country bar," So we went to this place, and it was a karaoke bar, and I'd never done karaoke before in my life, and I'll never do it again. Anyway, we got really drunk, and somehow Wayne conned me into getting up and doing a duet, with one song each, Anyway, so I sung Land Down Under, of course, guys at Men at Work. But I was really drunk at this stage, and I remember just screaming it out, the words, as you do when you're out on the piss with your mates, and K-San comes on something, you just scream the words out. You can't really sing it, you just yell it, I remember looking at the guy running the show, and he turned my mic off, and the words, but I knew the words, so it didn't matter. I was just yelling it out top of my voice. Everyone's like, "What the hell?" Anyway, so my song finished, and then turned to Wayne, and it was his turn, and he picked "Sunshine on My Shoulders" by Johnny Denver, like that. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy, like really slow song. I was like, "What the hell, Wayne? What are you doing singing that song?" Could have picked Garth Brooks or something, Anyway, that was funny. So after that, we left with our arms around each other and pulled into his old pickup and drunk as skunks, and we headed out of town. It was only a little town, and then we turned up at this cabin. He used to build log cabins. We had this beautiful big log cabin. It was amazing, and the bathroom. Next morning, we looked around, and I travelled with a heap of Johnny Williamson CDs. Rode Through the Heart and all of them. All the CDs. So we literally played Johnny Williamson CDs all next day, and I sat there and plaited him a belt, and we just chatted, and such a nice man, Wayne. He was a carpenter, and he took me around to his brother's house and showed me another house he was making, these big, log homes, and so I made him a belt, and I was half thinking, if I hadn't have promised Bobby to go and help him up in Washington State at Okanagan, I might have stayed with Wayne, and he sort of asked me to go and work with him, which I would have loved to have done, build log cabins. He was going to head up north and build log cabins in the Canadian wilderness, and I nearly went with him. I would have loved to. Anyway, years later again, me and Kaido were there, and I tried to find Wayne. I went back to Sisters, and twice I was there afterwards, years after. I tried to find him, and went to the hardware shop even, and said, "Do you guys know this guy called Wayne?" I even had a photo of him, but it was an old grainy photo, and no one had heard of him. So I drove around trying to find the log cabin. I really wanted to reconnect with him, but I just could not find him, and obviously pretty drunk because I couldn't find the road he was on. I thought I knew where it was. Anyway, so that was pretty cool with Wayne in Sisters, and I jumped on my jumped on my bike and headed off again. And from then on, you know, this is around Central Oregon. It's getting cold, and I just wanted to get up to Bobby's place in Okanagan. Now, Bobby was still down in LA, but he told me that, you know, where his mum's address was, 227 Burton Street, Okanagan. Still remember it. And anyway, so I just sort of hightailed it up there, camped once in the scrub somewhere at State Forest, and I remember riding into Okanagan, just sort of right up north, not far from the border in Washington State. And I was riding into town, and I'd come past this pickup on the side of the road, and he'd come past me, pulled me over, and it was this guy, a local bloke from town, and he'd been asked by Mama Kaz, which was Bobby's mum. She would have been in the 70s, and she was driving this big old yellow pickup with a big, you know, stock crate on the back, all the way down to Los Angeles. She was in her early 70s, much like Richard's age, and she drove this big old yellow pickup all the way down to Los Angeles to pick up Bobby's gear, you know, and drove it back again. Anyway, while she was gone, she left instructions with some friends to look out for me, you know, this mad Aussie bloke on a motorbike's coming north. So this guy, you know, I'm not sure if he's waiting or he passed me. He must have passed me. And anyway, he turned around and he pulled me over and he said, follow me into town, I'll show you where Mama Kaz lives. And so he took me to the house, and he showed me the house and said, just wait here. And then I think, I got to the house, I got my bag off, and he said, come round to see, he took me round to Mama Kaz's daughter's place, and Bobby's sister. What's her name? I'll think of it in a second. She was an amazing girl. She was, just a real, again, typical American woman, you know, tough as nails and loud and boisterous and fun. And she was a barber, basically a barber in Okanagan. And I remember she had this big laugh. She used to laugh at everything, and she used to, Cheryl, her name was Cheryl Curtis, you know. She had these enormous oxen. She used to have these old-time gigantic oxen. She'd take them into schools all over the States, and she was famous for it, you know, and she was into racehorsing, and she was quite well known. If you look up the Encyclopedia Britannica of a quarter horse, you know, in the old encyclopedias, I don't know if it'll be still there on Google, but I looked it up, and there was a photo of this beautiful quarter horse, and it said photo by Cheryl Curtis. So she had this photo of a quarter horse in the encyclopedia. Yeah, and she was well connected and amazing lady, and she was building this log cabin. It was like something out of, you know, the Beverly Hillbillies, you know. It was like 3 stories, and she was building it all on her own, you know. It was just an enormous thing, and it was so big, it was hardly anything was finished. So she was living in this tiny little room down the bottom because everything was unfinished, you know. But you know, she'd be still working on it. And anyway, I hung around with Cheryl for a little while, and she took me back to Mama Kaz's place, and she said, this is the bedroom you're sleeping in, this bedroom here, and she said the freezer's full of food, and you know, the Americans just love their food, and they've got freezers and pantries, and you know, down the basements full of food. You know, they could live for a year without going to the shops. And anyway, then she organised. She had a boyfriend of hers, Jerry King, his name was, and Jerry, and he was a really nice man, and he came around and picked me up next day, took me horse riding, and then the next day I went with Cheryl, went to an auction. She used to buy these, you know, loved these old style auctions, and they looked after me until Mama Kaz come back. And then I'd never met Mama Kaz, but the room I was staying in was Mama Kaz's room. She'd put me in her own bedroom, and that's, you know, she'd never known me. And while she was gone, my house was hers, and she even put me in her own bedroom. Like, that's what the Americans were like, you know, they're unbelievable hospitality. Anyway, Mama Kaz was a bit of a shorter lady, big girl, and just the love and the warmth was just oozing out of her, you know. So she adopted me as a son right there and then, you know, and treated me as such. And anyway, so we had a lot of fun with Mama Kaz, and yeah, you know, the Americans just know how to have fun and be happy, and amazing people, you know, incredible people, resourceful, you know. Went to Jerry King's house, he built his house, and they just would build their own places like it was nothing, you know. They did all their own electrical, they did all their own plumbing. They just got a sparky to come and hook up the wires. And the plumbers, they said, mate, the only thing you need to know about plumbers is shit flows downhill and paydays on Friday. You know, Bobby would say with a big laugh, you know, and like, I mean, it was a bit dodgy, but anyway, they did it, you know, they did it. And, they were very resourceful people, you know. And there wasn't the rules like over here, like to make a house, Cheryl's house, she said that, you know, the council was on her back, but she didn't have any permits, and it's changing, you know, but not like Australia, we're very regulated over there. They could just build a house, hardly a permit, you know. I mean, you could do your own plumbing, it didn't matter, you know. And anyway, so we waited there with Mum and Kaz until Bobby turned up, and he turned up with his truck and a big Plymouth hot rod on the back of a trailer, and then it was even more boisterous, and more laughs and more fun, you know. We had a ball. And anyway, then we looked at there was this big paddock right next door to Mum and Kaz, and we had to build this big shed 30 yards by about 15 yards with nothing done. It wasn't started, you know. We had to dig the footing, we had to lay it out. So yeah, I'll tell that story later, but we basically set it out, dug the footings and built this shed, and we'll tell that next time. Alright, thanks guys. I just got bailed up by this spider web, golden orb. Look how strong it is. Oh, look at over there. That's what Richard ended up with him on his belly with the mule bucket. You can tell me what that is. Should be able to tell by the scales. Is it brown or death adder? I think it's too skinny for a death adder. Must be a small king brown. There's Dundee, she's having a go. There, look. Look there. Pull him under. There's an ant line under these little things. If an ant walks into us like a funnel and like a trap and they can't get out, then there's ant lines that grabs it and pulls them under. All these little drop an ant in there, there's a little ant line under there. Like you see on Star Wars, you know. It's a cool little cave. Little rock wallaby sitting there. Take it easy, baby. Yeah, look at this stunning country. We didn't expect this. Looks almost like the bongles, you know. But have a look at here. So the country's opened up and looks a bit like cattle country here. Some of the spin effects is gone. See that? No more spin effects. And just these shrubby little gidgy looking things. And got these towering peaks all the way along here. So yeah, amazing. Yeah, so just about 25 k's, just gone past 48, and heading for well 49. Bit of a little ditch there, boys. Yeah, I mean, only climbed up the top. See a little snake skin I got. So it looks like a little brown, or it could be we'll be able to tell by the scales, but it's either a king brown, a small king brown, or just an eastern brown. But mostly it's king browns around here, Richard reckons. So it'd be cool to have a small king brown snake skin, you know. It was in the crevice of the rock, and I had a good look, but I put my hand in and I was hoping there was nothing in there, but it wasn't. And yeah, we climbed up. Darren come up as well. It's a pretty good effort, Darren. Just up to the bottom of those cliffs.
Yeah.
I think it's about 300 metres to the top, so probably, yeah, around 200 up there. And yeah, so the country's changed now, and getting into the Kimberley Field. You know, we're sort of almost at the bottom of the Kimberleys, I suppose. Totally changed the country, and sort of getting out of that flat desert sand hill country into these big ridges and yeah, anyway, it's good, eh? Alright, what's this place, Downey? Well, 49?
49, yes.
Did you really climb up that big hill?
Yes, I did. I didn't mean to do that, but I did it.
Kept going, didn't you?
Yeah.
So what are you cooking here?
Noodles, 2 ways. 2 noodles.
Look at that. So what is all that?
This is Korean, this is Thai.
I got Korean.
Yeah.
Hmm. Looks like tofu, spices, just noodles and an egg, isn't it? And tofu. You just do that. It's a good. We have this for lunch every day, don't we?
Yes. Easy. Sometimes you need something hot, nice and warm, you know?
Yeah.
And fresh.
Yeah. And on the induction, it's just real quick and easy, isn't it? Yeah, just pull the drifter table out. Best thing we ever made, that drifter table. Hey, I designed that about 15 or more now, 18 years ago. I designed the leg system for that. On my original bench where I used to make things, you can still see the welding marks where I welded the first set of legs, and we've made thousands and thousands since. You still can't buy a set of legs anywhere in the world as good as those for portable adjustable legs. No one makes them, you know. Anyway, Yeah, so I've got a slow leak in the back tyre. Haven't looked, well I know where that is, and I've got a slow leak in the front tyre. Otherwise we're pretty good. Oh, that's tough going through there with the, look at this. And I put a bag on this, which was great. Let's cop the flogging there. Put the rope tie back here, that's broken, but I'll leave that. That's alright. These ropes have been brilliant. Just helps get them off your windscreen. Just a guy rope. But look at that there. There's hardly a mark on that. Whereas the rest of your truck is just scratched to hell. So that's worked pretty good for your front pillar there. Look at that. Hardly a mark on it. Some good birds here. Look at that. Big cat eyes. Oh, look at that. Jeez. You want to walk around bare feet? Get that little sucker. Right, better have some lunch. Yeah, Glenn's put one of our little buckets on the end there. What is it, the 18 litre? We've got an 11 litre bucket too, eh? Would be better. That's just helps protect the end of the awning. Good job, bro. Alright, keep going. Yes, we're coming up to well 51 shortly, and I think there's new fence has been put in. And I was talking about fencing before over Malunga, and that's exactly the sort of fence we used to do. But from what I remember, we had 5 strands barb. We only got 3 there. But you know, steel pickets as far as the eye can see, and you know, hot as buggery. Yeah, it was tough work, you know. We just ran those in by hand, and 2 or 3 jackaroos would just be putting in pickets, and then you'd have to run all the wire out and then come back and tie them all on, and yeah, it's a lot of work. Anyway, first fence we've seen for a while, and looks like we're on a property now. Just going a little bit off the track here, so I'm supposing this is the right track, but we'll see what comes up. There was no gate back there, was there?
No.
Yeah, so we're getting, it's all new country now, and into the bottom half of Kimberley. Only a few hundred k's from Wolf Creek and the Kimberleys, and yeah, anyway, we're going to try and push through, well we will, push through to well 51, which is the last well. Camp there somewhere tonight, and yeah, that'll be the last night on the track, really. Yeah, well, it's really weird. So basically what's happened is there's a fence been put right through the track, which is fine. Coming from the north-south, it shows a gate, which is there. But coming from this way, there's nothing. So that's the track there, and you come down here, and you go down to Billio down that way. You can't get on the other side of this fence. Anyway, so you're just sort of left to figure it out yourself. It's weird. Anyway, if you're coming south to north, you've got to go down there and come up through this side to get on the other side of the fence. Okay, got it. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, eh? There's just this little dog leg and there's no signs. Coming from this way, there's no signs. So it's very unclear, but coming from the other way, it's quite easy. Anyway, went down the wrong track for about 5 k's.
Is that the wheel?
Yeah, it's the old well there and the new well here. Take a look. Yeah, we didn't want to miss this because it's the last well, 51. And yeah, so here's what happened. You come through this gate, you end up on this side of the fence. There's a fence going through here, and it takes you all the way out to here. So we went back, and there's a little dog leg where you got to go this way and then back this way. Anyway, we're here now. Nowhere to camp though, so we'll where are you up to, Glenn?
I've just turned left after the 200 metres.
Following the track?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, 51. The end of the canning. I reckon that deserves a beer. Come the boys. There's a few cattle around, so getting much moisture out of that. Welcome to well 51, boys.
That corrugation was heavy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was super heavy. I don't reckon you felt it.
Done it, bro.
I've done it, bro.
Yeah.
What a day, eh?
We all need a sign photo. In front of the
Made it,
well.
mate. Well 51. Found it.
Brilliant. Hey, this is what we've been looking for, mate.
Well done, bro.
Yeah.
Done it, mate.
We
Oh, that bloody fence. I went like 10 k's down that fence line. Bloody fences in the road. And it's a lot of people have been down there, eh? So it's like a well-worn track.
Would have been lost.
Bloody oath. Yeah. Good find, Mr. Hunter.
Well, we could have gone the other way too, but then wouldn't have got well 51, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It's nice to get this
This is
one.
the keep. It's kind of the end, right?
Yeah. No problems. But well, we're on the hunt now for a campsite.
Look like the water.
So yeah, we just got trying to find a couple of dead trees and we can pull up, you know. A beautiful afternoon, and we're lucky we found that well 51, which is the end, you know. So that was really cool. Right.
There's the lake.
Look at that. Well, look at this. What do you think, Rich?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, camp here?
Buddy, look at this. Look at that, you know, perfect.
Birds everywhere, eh?
Yeah, birds everywhere. They always say it's a paradise for birds. We're just on the edge of the lake. There's not a big lake further on.
What a surprise.
I know.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
How's this, mate?
We found home.
Look at the sunset.
Oh, there's your bull strap, eh?
Eh?
That's it. Here's your bull,
Oh, yeah,
bull ring.
I reckon no one's ever camped here before.
That's the wood shavings I bring with me. A lot of small stuff here, so I've just got that pine shavings I carried in a little green bag and a couple of bits of pitch.
Good wood too.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yes.
What sort of tree is that, Richard? See that? You can't get a fire gun, it's full of pitch though. You could light that with a match right there. Try these Zippo tinder shreds. Okay. See there. Pitch coated sawdust. Yeah, wow. How'd the little Makita go, mate? Smashed it, eh?
Perfect.
Oh, that thing is just pure torque, isn't it?
You should have seen it.
Ah, little Darren sneaking out with his drone. How about that, Glennie?
Beautiful, isn't
What a day, bro.
it? What a day, mate.
What a way to finish.
What a flower, what a sunset.
That is magic. Even just that there. Like nothing else, just that, you know? Richard's standard little setup. This is a log I've been carrying here for him. I'm going to make some chopping boards out of that, but yeah.
Oh, what a way to finish, eh?
Yeah, beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. Last 100k's nice travel, and to pull up here,
Yeah. Oh, you spotted those trees, mate, didn't you?
that is magic, you know.
We were just saying, we just need a couple of dead trees and then you spotted those.
That's it. That's it. Yep.
That's all Richard needs.
It was
A
spot
little
on.
stool. And he's Billy.
Cool.
And then he's happy.
That break's been fantastic.
Are you videoing me, mate?
Yeah, I am videoing you. I'm actually videoing my brother put up his swag, so if we both stand
Yeah,
here.
let's see. Surely he knows what he's doing by now.
I reckon. What do you reckon?
Oh, look at that photo there. Look at that.
Yeah, I know. Look at that.
I'll tell you what.
Hey, the disco did it, bro.
Yeah, Disco's done it.
You want to do the, you know when the Toyota boys jump up in the air? You want to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Like,
tap-
oh, what a
Crack
feeling.
and crack the
Don't forget
bubbles.
tapping your feet,
Oh, what a feeling.
smash some
Hey.
bottles.
Look at that.
The disco did it, mate, eh? We're literally-
More than did it. It smashed it.
Well, I wouldn't say smashed it.
Yeah, smashed it.
It was like a bit of a grandma drive for you guys because we had to wait a fair bit.
Look at that.
Didn't we, Brendan?
I think the waiting was all planned, to be honest.
Yeah, that's all. We didn't mind waiting.
Eh? It was so we could just have a good brotherly
Yeah.
conversation. Eh?
Well, I spent all my time waiting, pumping tyres up.
Yeah.
Hurry up and fix a tyre before he gets the sunlight.
Oh, it's all going
Well,
on.
let's see in the morning if it's flat.
And Richard, the little Hilux, no problems, eh? You didn't have a flat tyre.
No,
You didn't have a single problem, did you?
no, no problem, nothing, eh?
Yeah.
But I do have heavy duty tyres, so
Yeah, yeah,
big difference, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
No, done well, mate.
Hurry up, sort it out.
That seems unfair.
All right, well,
I thought it was just Sunday drive.
no,
Fantastic run for all of us, you know.
Right. beautiful sun going down, eh?
Oh, look at that. Yep.
Assembled and disassembled on a daily basis.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
And all sorts of birds over there, eh? There's everything.
Brolgas, you name it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of people say it's paradise for a lot of birds, you know?
Yeah.
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 And see, after all that floods around the
What was that?
Fitzroy and Halls Creek, and so this would have been right on the edge of it, you know?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
2 minutes 12, Luke.
Yeah?
2 minutes 12,
So, yeah, well, you've nailed it, mate.
with the exception of
When you
my ventilation windows and veranda.
oh yeah, when you get home, right, I'll ship that to you with DHL, right? I'll send that swag to you. Okay?
2 minutes 12.
I'll
Tell you
literally,
what, I might need the hammer for the first time on this entire trip
yeah.
because there's no pushing that
Hey,
in with my
we'll
foot.
send this. We'll send it to you, mate. Send it to me DHL.
We'll send it to you, mate.
Yeah,
Let me get you a hammer.
because I think he's going to want to keep sleeping in it all the time.
I think so.
Mate, I've actually really enjoyed it. It's a little bit cozy in there, don't get me wrong. I was saying to Glenn today, I had a scratchy ankle and I couldn't reach it.
Yeah,
But it's
that's
been
when you
super
need the
comfy,
double.
mate.
We could have bought the double for you, but
Nah.
I don't know how it would have gone fitting on the.
Well, then my brother would have wanted to join me, so
Yeah,
I could have bought
True.
the dot.
Uncle Richard might have wanted to swap. So I think because it's single, I was on my own.
wow. Look at that, eh? What's for dinner, Darnie?
Steak, sticky rice, and roti.
What's make it happen mean?
Just means make it happen.
Does it work? If you wear that shirt, do you make it happen more?
I made a lot happen
Yeah?
this trip.
That's
Yes.
good. Well, you know, the big 79's done the trip. We ummed and ahed what to do, had the 76, and I was going to chop it and then not chop it, and then we finally made the decision to chop it. We went to mate Next Level 4x4 to get him to chop it. He didn't want to, and then he said, well, why don't you just buy my truck, which he had for sale, which we did. So we got it, you know, tuned up to what we wanted. And I bought that truck for this trip, you know. I wanted to be able to take 2 spares, and in the end didn't need 2 spares, but I needed the room. And it's an ultimate, it is absolutely, I can just tell you from my opinion, the ultimate long range tourer. I don't think there's a better truck you can buy, you know. The long wheelbase, very good, recoils 100%, beautiful canopy, like Next Level's done a brilliant canopy on that. I love the canopy, nice and simple. Bush cruise is perfect, I've got a bit of space on the roof, Starlink. Couldn't ask for anything more, you know. And it's yeah, it's done it. Had a lot of worries, but when you're always worried about mechanical stuff, but you know, I could break down tomorrow. I don't care. I've done it, you know. Touch wood, we'll be fine. We're going to go into Derby tomorrow, I think. Camp in Derby, and then head to Broome next day. Got a couple of mates, but they're away at the moment. So Petey Hoymans and Brian, my old boss from years ago, they're both away at the moment. They're coming in on Monday, so I'm going to catch up with them. Maybe stay for 3-4 days. But yeah, you couldn't ask for a better rig, really, and I wouldn't change a thing, really. It did have airbags in the back coils, but they were broken, and we pulled them out. We couldn't get new ones in time, but rear airbags would have been nice, just to just stiffen up the back end a little bit, you know. But you know, this truck was, you know, we're doing 40 nearly the whole way, pretty much, and while the Ranger's, little Land Rover's a great truck, you know, we waited 20 minutes in every hour for the Land Rover, so doesn't matter, it got there, it did the track, but it had to go quite slow. But that's just a machine, this 79. 400mm extension, rear coils, and full length canopy, tent on top. A lot of stuff on the back here, big trundle, all recovery gear, whip that out, that's all there ready to go. Just undo that soft shackle, bang, straight away. Kitchen area is really good, just pull the table out, nice and easy. You got your kitchen area right there, little drawers, got the fridge. It's a ripper setup, nothing too complicated, you know. And this is where it gets us, you know. 25 years been wanting to do this trip, and we've been able to do it, so yeah, it's amazing.